Hi, I'm Camby Reynolds. I'm the farm manager here at the Powell Research and Extension Center for the University of Wyoming. Today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about a project that we're doing on micronutrients in sugar beets. Oftentimes we're tempted to focus on the macronutrients, or your N, P, and K, because they are needed in such large quantities, whereas micronutrients are needed in very minimal quantities, as in a pound or two per acre, versus several hundred pounds per acre of your micronutrients. But the reality is that our micronutrients can limit our production every bit as much as our macronutrients. So the micronutrients that I wanted to talk to you today about will be boron, zinc, manganese, iron, copper, and molybdenum. Now the challenge with micronutrients isn't necessarily putting them down or getting them in the field. Oftentimes they're available in the field already. The challenge is making them available to the plant so that they can be pulled in and used by the plant. So that challenge comes because here in Powell we have a really high pH, and the higher the pH, the less available many of those micronutrients become. And so this project we're looking at is placement of those micronutrients and delivery method. So are we broadcasting it, are we banding it next to the plant, or placing it foliar on the leaves throughout the growing season? So to start with, I'm going to give you just a brief description of what each of these different micronutrients does in a sugar beet crop, and then we'll talk about the project in more depth. The first micronutrient I'm going to talk about is iron, and it's oftentimes deficient, like I mentioned, in a very high pH or alkaline soils. Now the problem that occurs when you have an iron deficiency is those crops will try and increase their root surface area so that they can make that more available. And so oftentimes you'll get lateral growing roots as well as increased root hairs. And so in a sugar beet, that's not ideal. We want that good taproot that's going down and can hold all that sugar. The next one I want to talk about is manganese. Now manganese, if your sugar beet crop specifically is deficient in manganese, they've seen as much as a 2-ton reduction in yield from a manganese deficiency. Now manganese, the problem is making it available, and so studies have shown that you can try and band it, and you can also apply it foliar, but often either one of those individually is insufficient to overcome that manganese deficiency. And so some studies indicate that you have to do both, band it as a pop-up fertilizer and apply it as a foliar throughout the growing season in order to overcome that and capture your total yield potential. Zinc is another micronutrient that is oftentimes deficient when you have high pH soils or high phosphorus soils, of which we have both here in Powell. And so zinc is one that's very hard to make fully available to a sugar beet crop. Now what happens with a zinc deficiency is you start seeing yellowing or necrotic leaves, and they start out as yellow or white spots and then slowly grow on the leaves. And the more those spots grow, the more stunted the crop becomes. Copper is also should be a deficiency in sugar beets, and if you have a copper deficiency in your sugar beets, you can see as much as a 50% reduction in chlorophyll in your sugar beet leaves. Now if you have that big of a reduction in chlorophyll, it affects your cell structure and the crop's ability to create and store sugar, as well as its ability to fight diseases such as rhizoctonia, which is one of the major sugar beet diseases. So copper can be very essential in creating and maintaining sugar content, as well as keeping a healthy plant that can fight diseases. The next one I want to talk about is boron, which is arguably one of the most important micronutrients to a sugar beet crop, because it is so important in the plant's ability to use water and to translocate metabolites such as sugar. So if a crop makes sugar in the leaves and can't translocate those or move those sugars into the root, we can't harvest them. So making sure that a plant has enough boron available to it ensures that we can harvest the sugar that that crop has been making all year. The last micronutrient I want to talk about, which actually isn't that important to a sugar beet crop, but I wanted to touch bases on it anyway, is molybdenum. Now, molybdenum is very important because it is what allows a plant to create nitrogen. So it's used in that transformation of pulling nitrogen out of the air and oxygen and fixing nitrogen in the soils. So in all of your nitrogen fixing crops, molybdenum is very essential. Sugar beets is not one of those crops, and so it's not as critical. So on this particular research project that we are doing with micronutrients, what we're doing is taking several products that contain micronutrients, and those products that we're using are called BioBurst, System Advance, Nutrisulf, Topset, KDL, and just straight boron. Now what we're doing with these is applying them in 6 different treatments, either at planting in the soil or with a glyphosate spray throughout the growing season, or as a finishing product about 30 days before harvest to help move those sugars down. As an example, I wanted to show you a couple of the sugar beets out of these studies. Now this is in no way indicative of the results that we're going to see. This is not scientific. I just wanted to show you an observation of what we're seeing. So this beet here is an untreated check. That means it got standard fertilization, but it has not received any additional micronutrients. So you can see in size difference, this one that has received all of the micronutrients, both banded and foliar sprays throughout the year, appears to be doing much better. And this could be an indicator of what we may see, but in order to judge the final results, we will have to dig the sugar beets and run the analysis and statistics to see if there's actually a difference with these different crops. So I would invite all of you, if you're interested in this project or you'd like to see the results, we post all of our results on the University of Wyoming AES webpage. There's a portion there that lists all of our research projects, and you can go in and search those by keywords. So if you're interested in sugar beets or micronutrients, you just type that in. You can search all of the past research projects, or feel free to give us a call here at the Research Center anytime. Our phone number is 307-754-2223. I hope you all have a great day.